what we're going to cover now is hub group blueprints. The following is a step-by-step blueprint for a successful group meeting. All right. So, number one, take notes in the church services, or service in this case. So, Ed, why don't you read that? Let's see what needs to happen. You don't want to read that. Okay, Frank, why don't you read that?
Always, although notes and an outline are provided, nothing is as effective as conversational teaching as the insights, ideas, and principles that personally touch you. In other words, as you're listening to the message and you're thinking of ways that it specifically applies to you, the hug leader. If questions or ideas come to mind, write them down. Don't let them slip from your memory. They may be the ideas around which the Spirit of God will move in your next group meeting. So
first thing what needs to happen, of course, the home group leader and the people who are going to help the home group leader, they need to be a church or a concept. Right. And because as part of being a home group leader, you need to take notes of what was shared that week, what the pastor is sharing. And from that, you're going to be able to get some ideas that are really going to help you for your home group, the next meeting you have. So number two, pick up your outlines as soon as possible. So what does that mean? You're going to receive an email a day or two after the service coming from a pastor or somebody who works with our pastor, and it's going to be an outline of what was shared during the service. So you're going to take that and the ideas that you had gathered from the service, you're going to put them together, and that's really your first step toward really getting ready for your group that it's coming up. Number three, consider the sample questions and prepare some of your own. So hey Dennis, why don't you read that? Think about.
Yes, think about the sample questions, but do not become restricted by them. The goal is to encourage the group to begin processing the thoughts, ideas, and principles they have heard.
So you know your group personally, so you may have ideas that are more stimulating than those provided for you. Just be sure to deal with the message that was presented on Sunday. So what we're saying here, you receive an email. An email will basically cover some of the highlights of what was shared on Sunday. And that's going to be what you really should share in your group. But it's saying here you can actually add your own ideas. You can maybe take a few off and add a few, but what it's saying is at the very end is don't go so far away that you're totally disregarding the message of that week. You need to stay within the context, but you can be flexible enough to add some more or remove some a few things. Yes, Dennis?
I was just going to throw in there, these would be groups that are working from the messages that we're doing, which is a lot of how we did them, but there's also one coming up that's a marriage group. There's one that's done on Wednesdays that's dealing with Dr. Richard stuff. So I just want to say that would relate to just those people that are doing that group, right?
Yes. Number four, and this is where it gets good. Do your follow-up. Okay, what does it mean? I'm going to read this paragraph here. Follow-up for new visitors and converts will be more effective if it is held prior to the weekly group meeting. This provides opportunities to make phone calls and visits to church visitors and absentees. When the IGL and his or her worker go out on the same night, coordination of efforts would be made much easier. Failure to be diligent at these, something's missing a part, will result in a stagnant group that does not grow. Okay, the point of all of these is really to have a good group is going to take some effort, right? It's going to take some effort. You have your lesson, you know what you're going to prepare, but really you need to make some calls. Or you need to get involved with the visitor who came to church, get their phone number and says, hey, we have a group. Would you like to join? And also anybody who's just received Jesus, what an opportunity to invite your group. Frank, you had a question.
Yeah, well, it was more like a comment. What I found really worked was that when I was in church on Sunday, I was always thinking about the group that was going to take place that week. And then I just invite people. I'd give them a reminder, hey, we're going to meet this week, why don't you come? And the other thing too is that if I saw people that didn't come to the group, you know, I would just go ahead and I would say, hey, we're meeting this week. We're going to be at this location. Why don't you think about coming? And also, the other thing is that home group is the perfect place for a new believer, because ministry almost automatically takes place in that environment, and to minister to that new believer and to help them start growing in Christ.
That's good. Next step is ponder your direction. Okay, so we're talking about meditation. You really need to spend some time throughout the week to think about your home group. It's got to be alive in you. It's something you really want to focus. What can I do? What can I do this week? How can I make it better? It says here, continue to ponder your direction for the group meeting, and be sure to put your ideas in writing. So there's going to be something that the Holy Spirit is going to encourage you to do. He's going to reveal to you, and it says here to write it down, because we get so much stuff, and man, sometimes we forget, and you go, I had a really good idea about the group, but I can't remember now. So write that stuff down. And it says it takes a lot of creativity to keep a group communication an open week after. So the point is, week after week, things can get a little stagnant if you don't keep it fresh. And to keep it fresh is you might have to come up with some ideas of your own that inspired by God Himself. Don't miss a good idea because of poor memory. Again, write stuff down. And then step number 6, what a concept. Pray for your group and the people in it. So praying is important. And look again, it says allow the Spirit of God to prepare you for the needs of the people. So you need to be prepared for that group. We can take it very casual, but at the end of the day, you are entrusted with the group of people who are going to come over your place, or maybe somebody else's place. We'll see that, but they're there to receive from God. At the end, really, that's what you're doing, ministry. But so you want to be praying for the people to come, because stuff is going to happen. Oh, I can't make it. I have a flat tire. There's going to be things that are going to come against the people that want to come to the group. You need to pray for that, and you need to pray for yourself and for people who are going to help you. Because again, right before the group, you might have an argument with your spouse. I don't know why it always happens that way. Next thing you know, the people start coming and you just had an argument. And so you want to pray, you want to meditate, you want to be just in that type of environment, so everything just starts flowing as soon as the people come in. They don't walk in the place, what was going on here right before I came here? They can feel it. All right, so praise is very important. Number 7, again, review the outline. We're speaking of the outline that was presented through the email, that email that you received. Frank, why don't you read that, please?
Yep. Just before the meeting, review and organize your outline and the ideas you plan to implement. It's very unnatural to sit in a group meeting and read your notes and questions. You may want to place your notes where you can see them, but don't just read from them. Make it conversational. And the whole idea is that when you talk about conversation is that you want to open it up. You want to stimulate things so people start to share and participate and really take part.
Arrive early. So of course, if you're going to somebody's house, or if it's your house, make sure you're that early. You don't want people to be waiting for you. If you're the leader, that wouldn't be too good, really. Visit with your people. It says always have time of fellowship at the beginning of each meeting. Give everyone a chance to unwind and settle down. Having a time of praise and worship will reduce the amount of time available to spend fellowship and visiting. And it says there may be time of occasional prayer and worship. Just do what is natural in your group. And this is the key. The meeting must not be too lengthy. About 90 minutes is adequate. So you show up to the meeting, have a few minutes to get the meeting rolling. You visit, don't just walk in there and start the meeting, right? And have some worship music. In most cases, it works really well and gets people prepared. But the key is 90 minutes. Don't make it last too long, because people are going to get tired. And yes, Frank?
I always found it was a struggle, because we normally had a little bit of, people would bring snacks and stuff in fellowship. But I always found it a struggle, because that time can last forever.
Oh, yeah.
So you almost have to be, you know, a little bit disciplined and willing to kind of shut that down a little bit to get the meeting started.
Yes.
I always had that tension.
So you're going to have to develop that. You're going to have to develop certain skills. And just to cover number 10, transition into discussion. It says the more natural you can make the transition into the evening discussion, the better. People seem to close up if you announce that the group is now beginning. Okay, at this point we're going to start the group, and you get your paper out. You know, you're going to find some people are going to freak out a little bit. So you have to develop those skills. How to make it, how to go from worship to you know, to the actual discussion. You will see. It's something you will learn as time goes by, but keep that in mind. Number 11, always be conversational. Everything you do should be in relaxed, non-formal, non-threatening, non-religious manner. And you'll find that especially when you have somebody brand new who's maybe not even saved.
Yeah.
That's when you're going to have to be very relaxed. That's when you might have to do something different that night. You know, if you have a format, you have everything laid out, and somebody brand new shows up, it may not work for that person. You might have to just say, okay, tonight we're going to do something a little different. Prepare your group to say, we have a new person coming, so tonight we're going to do something a little different. We're going to focus on this person, but let's not try to be too religious, and let's not overwhelm this person with scriptures. Let's just be normal. That's really important when you have brand new people, okay? Keep that in mind. Now, again, time. Number 12 says, always start and stop on time. And look what it says here. Failure to start on time encourages people to be late. Okay? So if you say we're going to have a group at 7 o'clock or whatever, 7:30, if you start starting your group 10 hours late, 10 hours late, good luck. See you next. 10 minutes, 15 minutes late, guess what? People are going to say, okay, and then it's okay for me to be 10, 15 minutes late. So if people didn't come on time, they missed the food. Or they'll be late while everybody else was in the group. They would be eating their food, and so they learn to be there on time. I mean, yeah, whatever works, right?
There's some people that will only come for the food.
Well, that's a good point. While you never want to rush through the process, it is essential to always be aware of time, and also ending on time. Like I say, if you don't say we're done by 9. It can do two things. Some people are going to get tired and they're not going to come anymore because, hey, you told me it was going to last 90 minutes. Yeah. I'm still here at 10 o'clock. I don't like that. Yeah. Or you're going to have people going to just like to hang out. The next thing you know, like happened to me a couple of times, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you got people who want to talk. And I got to go to bed and they're still talking. That happens only once. So I'll learn from that. I'll learn from that one. But that happens. I'm telling you. People are going to be relax and they don't want to go home anymore. I don't know why.
I've asked them when they're done, can they turn the lights out? I'm going to bed.
So that's happened to me. But that's why you make the ground. That's why you lay out the rules in this part of your meeting. You share that. Those are the rules. We're going to have a 90 minutes meeting. But we'll cover that later. I don't want to get into too much detail. Give the communication rules every week. Oh, I was just saying that. Give the communication rules every week. It doesn't matter if the group is made up of the same people each week, just do it. So you got to say, those are the ground rules. Every week, even if it's the same people. Communication rules help everyone feel secure, and giving them weekly models the proper way to conduct the group. If you only do it when you think it should be done, the person in training to be a hub group leader will never do it. So basically, you're going to have people they're going to be eventually one day have their own group. So you're going to have somebody who's trained to become a group leader. And if they see you not sharing those rules every week, once they have their group, they're not going to do it. So it's important. For example, well, actually, we're going to go into the rules right now. So Frank, why don't you read the rules are?
Okay. We may ask one another questions. We do not make statements about or pass judgment on the statements of others.
Now think about this. So sure enough, somebody's going to say something off. That's going to happen. So you as a leader, really, you will become the facilitator. You're not taking over the group. You're not going to be the preacher. You're not, you're facilitating. You learn how to make things flow. Really, so when somebody says something that's off the wall, you don't want the rest of the group to attack this person. And that's the last time you'll see her or him. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you have to work with that. You can't say, "Oh yeah, that's good." You'll have to find a way how to approach it. That gets a little tricky sometimes.
Maybe let me respond to a couple things. First, just back to 12. Always start and stop on time. in past groups we've had where ministry is really taking place. And it looks like this could go on, we could minister to this person, but we always give them at 90 minutes an out, any person that needs to leave, and then we can go back to ministering to people. The other thing that you had mentioned about the rules is we always share them differently each week so it doesn't sound like bam, 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 and I think that's helped a lot to do that, so let's throw that in there.
That's good, especially, what helped me having rules helped in, you're gonna have people within the group that they just want to take over.
They do.
They're gonna take over. So you make it clear. If you say, hey, I want to make it clear that as a facilitator, if I think anybody, so you're not focused on anybody at that point. If anybody's taking too long, I will interrupt you. Don't be offended. So you're telling the whole group. So if you have to do that, they knew in advance. And if somebody's doing that, you can if you're gonna let people share, you can say, okay, I would like for you to share it in 30 seconds or 1 minute. So they're not. If they're going over, and as long as you do that, again, as a facilitator, you're gonna have a really good flow. All right.
Let's say you've got somebody that does that every week. Is there ever a place where you have to?
Well, I kicked them out, but no, I wouldn't do that. But there's nothing wrong with. First of all, if you have a situation, and let's say don't approach that in front of the whole group.
Never.
That's the worst thing you can do, right? So you can talk to the person after the fact or after the meeting. Say, look, Ed, I like you, but remember the ground rules, man. We have to stick with the ground rules, otherwise, these people can't share. We have needs. So you can, and again, Dennis shared before body language. You can tell this person that he's taking too long or she's taking too long, and your body language says, hey, you know what, I love you, so don't feel offended, but keep this in mind. You have to do that, right? So, Frank, what other things we had here going on?
Okay, be sure not to make statements about or pass judgment on the statements of others. We may decline to answer a question.
Okay, what does that mean? It means somebody may ask, it's like, okay, is God a male or female? That's a question that, or who made God, right? Hey, you have somebody brand new that's going to throw something like that, and just because it's so broad and it could take over a whole meeting, you can say, you know what, it's a great question, but let's stick to what we're doing tonight. See what I mean? You really have to develop those skills to bring everybody back. All right?
Yep.
And then you can approach that person later about that question.
Yeah.
And say that was inappropriate. Don't ever ask me again. So
where's your head?
Yeah. So next, Frank, please.
Okay, we can't interrupt. It's just impolite to interrupt.
All right.
We can share only our experiences, emotions, hopes, and fears.
Think about that.
No one can dominate the floor.
Okay, we have covered that. Let's make sure nobody takes over the whole meeting. Keep going.
You cannot incriminate anyone else by what you share.
So what that means is, that's one of the rules. I always used to tell the people, everything that is shared here remains here. So because there are times where people are going to get personal.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be times where people start laying down all their problems.
Yeah.
And again, you as a facilitator, you may not want to have too much stuff to be spilled over because some stuff is personal. Okay, and you tell the group, look, everything happens here, stays here. This is one of the main rules.
It has to be a safe environment.
It has to be a safe environment, otherwise people won't share anymore, right? And then it says next, what we say here stays here.
Yeah.
When giving the communication rules, work within an appropriate time. And then I'm going to skip a few things because I think we really have covered this in a different ways. Let's see. Let's go to number 15. Now let's go to number 15. Dennis, do you want to share that?
We just read number 15.
Well, just start reading the first piece.
Always have people pray for one another. It is rarely effective to pray in a circle. Nothing is learned from that method. It makes the visitor uncomfortable and dominant behavior patterns. despise it. Obviously, if a person has never prayed for another, have them join you or another stable group member in praying for someone. Never make a person feel uncomfortable.
So that's interesting. You know, we assume that everybody is okay with praying.
Yeah.
But you're going to have, you know, if it's a group of people you know well, that's not going to be a problem. But if you have a new person coming in, and I had that happen in my group, they were like, you asking me to pray. I had that happen to me, not at Dennis's group, a prior group, where I was told, okay, it's your turn to pray. And it's like I didn't even know how to pray, and that was the last time I showed up at that meeting. So you could lose people if you force them to do things they're not comfortable with. So praying, you think that everybody should be comfortable for prayer, but a lot of people like to pray in private for themselves. They're not used to pray for other people. So you need to recognize that. Okay.
That's a good point.
And it says after sharing, ask people to pray for one another. Sometimes you may designate specifically who should pray for whom. So that's a smart way to do it. So if you know somebody there who's not comfortable with praying, you find somebody who's really comfortable with it and says, hey, can you pray for this person? And everybody will take prayer. You know, they may be afraid to pray, but they're not going to be afraid to receive prayer. You know, keep that in mind, okay? And then as they become more comfortable, maybe in the following meetings, they'll start praying a little bit at a time.
And maybe one-on-one, men should pray for men and women should pray for women.
That's a very good rule. That's a very important thing to keep in mind. You know, boundaries. Okay, let's keep that in mind. What else is this? It says something about. It says, I like that. Either way, you want the group members to actually lay hands on each other as they pray for one another. This is how people learn to pray and minister to others. So it's important. It says here, it doesn't really say all up, but it says to lay hands. Why is that? Because that's what the Bible says, right?
Yeah.
It says that we pray for each other, we should lay hands.
Yeah.
Right?
And some people need hands laid on more than others.
And you know why also? There's something about laying hands that it says, I care for you. You know, there's that intimate touch that, you know, when I feel somebody's hand on me, it really says, I care for you and I'm praying for you. So that's important, but it's actually a biblical thing to do. You know, that's what Jesus says. Is, you know, that's what the apostles says. They said you got to lay hands. That's why we do it.
Yeah.
Skipping. 16. Frank, can you read?
Yep. As the meeting ends, ask each person to share in a brief statement what they are taking home with them from the meeting. Ask, what did you get out of tonight's conversation? This is a good place to pick up on testimonies for Sunday service. It can also be a time when people share testimonies as a result of the previous week's prayers.
Now, what a deal. You know, somebody may say, hey, this is what I got. God gave me a vision or something happened to me. And you may be able to take that to the church next week and ask this person if they can share. Of course, always ask permission. Don't put anybody on the spot. So, because it's important that on Sunday you have testimonies. Even if somebody, let's say the previous week they got prayed for it and somebody got healed. Say, hey, I had this problem in my knee, I could barely walk. You guys prayed for me, and next thing you know, and I had that happen. We had powerful things happening in the home group. We had people saved. We had people from Iran that they came. A whole family got saved in my home group.
That's awesome.
Of course, we brought it. You know, we went to church and it was a testimony. So those things are very, very important. A testimony, right? It helps encourage others to know that, hey, God does care for me. If He did it for this person, He's going to do it for me too, right? Discuss outreach. Of course, if there is any outreach going on, you need to discuss it with the group. How is your group going to help? Right? If there's anything that the church is doing, discuss with the group. What is it we're going to do as a group? What is going to be our role? Okay?
Within the church.
Yes. So you have 5 people coming to your group, and you know there is an outreach going on. It could be anything, but you know the church is involved. You as a group need to discuss what is going to be our role, how are we going to help. And that's how you can recruit people to help. It's a lot easier to do that in the group than doing it at church.
Yeah.
That works a lot better.
Yep. It's more personal.
And then, yeah, it says here, how do you do, among other things, use announcement of upcoming events. So you take an announcement of something that is happening, you share with the group and says, hey, we have some needs here. Who wants to do what?
Yeah.
Right? That's true, Dennis. That works really good. That's still that. So number 18. I'm going to jump all the way to number 18. Frank, can you read close the meeting?
Close the meeting and have workers queued to start moving people toward cleaning up. Tactfully begin moving people towards the door at the appointed time. Even if they are enjoying themselves, they will not come back if the group stays too late. And you must be considerate of the host's home, children's bedtime, etc. Do not leave talkers in the house. Kindly move them out. This should not be left to the host or hostess.
Okay, so here is assuming that you as a leader have gone to somebody else's house, but it could be your house, right?
Yep.
We'll find out in the next lesson
Yep.
a little more about the rules, okay? But it's important, again, going back to the time thing, you know, if he says it's 90 minutes, it's 90 minutes. And if you're in somebody else's houses, again, people want to go to bed, you have kids. You have to be good, you have to develop those skills. Again, that's what the home group is going to do for you. You're going to develop skills how to facilitate, how, without offending anybody, and saying, okay, remember we agreed to a 90 minutes meeting, it's 9 o'clock, so I want to encourage everybody to start. But what it says here also, make sure that people help out. So if there was a meal prepared, somebody had to cook a lot of stuff, there's dishes, hey, get the people involved to clean up before they leave. What a concept, right?
Yeah.
Number 19, fill out your report. And I think we have an example of that. What does it mean? It means that it says here not to wait too long. Now, I'm one of those guilty ones that didn't do a good job at filling out the report.
Most of them.
Most of it. Okay, I feel a lot better. I was one of many.
You're in good company.
So what it says here, don't wait too long to fill up your report. And what is a report ad? Is basically a form. It says you can use your own form, I'm assuming, but basically you're sending an email to the pastor and say this is how many people we had. It's good to have a list, so they can kind of keep an eye on somebody maybe hasn't been showing up in several weeks at church. What's going on with this person? Have a list of people who were there, and then you can say, hey, this is what happened. You know, we had worship. You can say we had worship. We shared this, and we had prayer for those people. So you can get a little bit without making it too difficult for yourself.
Yeah, he's got the report.
Yeah,
right
you
here.
can. That makes it easy because it really shows what the things that you should fill in. Don't make it too difficult. But again, it's good to share what happened. Any miracles? Hey, Dennis may want to share on Sunday that something great happened. But if he doesn't know, so then you send that email. Number 20, which I believe is the last one, it says make follow-up assignments. Okay. As you do your report, you may prepare follow-up assignments. It is best to do your report immediately. We already covered that. And it says, now this is summarizing again, from beginning to end, the meeting should last approximately 1.5 hours. We stress this out 3 or 4 times. That's really, really important, your time, okay? Meeting longer than this will result in the loss of your group members. You get that? So if you start going too long, you're losing people. Occasionally, your special events may last longer, but try the group meeting to this length. If your group grows too large, it becomes too difficult to allow people time to share. So what happens if your group becomes too large? It's time to multiply your group. That's why you have to raise leaders. Meanwhile, we're going to cover more of this. Now, this ends the hub group prints.